Today we continue with our class Shabbos Home, and this session and all of them that we're going to cover today, BeEzrat HaShem, also should be dedicated to Leilu Neshama LevLeib ben Zion, also to Rifah Shlema Odia Rabbi Yaron Reuven. His name is Yaron ben Doris. Also Ariella Ora Bas Anna, Imim Rasiracha Bas Brindel, Yehudis Bas Noach, and also Atzlacha Rabba to Giveres Chana Bas Avraham Avinu, the whole family, BeEzrat HaShem. So today we continue with our class Shabbos Home, and we're on chapter number 30, and our big topic is building. So as we said many times before, that's one of the extensive halachas, right? Building, and very, very applicable. And we're going to see it's cover all of these unexpected areas of our life, and life meaning observing of Shabbos. And we started last time section number 4, and our topic was activities included in Melachah of building. And we said that there are 4 separate categories, right? Big categories. So one is like building in a sense like a building of the structure. So first is improving of the ground, and we're going to see, right, even in the different melachas we actually covered it as well, but here we're going to go like more extensively. Whatever is not mentioned here, we're going to add BeEzrat HaShem. All right. B, so subsection B, building a structure. So like that's how we understand. First we improve the ground, then building the structure. C, repairing and adding to the structure. So it's this section I think is the more common in our like observing Shabbos. Repair and adding to the structure. And D, assembling moving movable utensils. So it's also very, very practical. So all of them are practical. All right. So now we're going to elaborate, and we start with the first section, which is improving the ground. And it says, leveling the ground. Subsection 1, leveling the ground. Gemara in Shabbos 73b teaches that if one improves a small amount, removes small amount of earth from the floor in his house, with intention of making the floor level, right, he has violated the Melachah of building. For by removing the amount, he has improved the floor in his house. There are several practical activities that are prohibited on Shabbos because they include or might lead to leveling the ground. Some examples of this sweeping and washing the floor and rolling a ball on the ground. These prohibitions are discussed at length in chapter 24. So it was not 24, 14, sorry. Okay. Okay, so let's do from the beginning. So first of subcategories of improving the ground, leveling the ground. So, and I think we said before that in the olden days they have earthen people. Majority of the people have earthen floors. So, and they read these books, right, in the stories. So a person was dreaming to have wooden floors. So meaning like for us, like of course you have some kind of floor. No, it was not actually the case, right? People would have money to like borrow money, all of this money they did not have, but at least they would build the walls and roof, and that's it. So for floors, many times that there was not enough money. It's not because they did not want to, but simply people could not afford. Right, so that's how bad it was. Right, if in a Eastern country, when it's like more or less warmer, so in Africa or somewhere, right, I mean Middle Eastern country, maybe it was not so bad during the majority of the year, but in Europe it was a big deal, right? It was very cold, right? And since people would walk in certain areas of the house, so they would have an indentation, right? So meaning the floor was not even. And for example, if you want to put now a Shabbos table in the middle of the room, right? So it's not like we have like a wooden floor, like tiles or whatever. We have this. What is it? Whatever finish we have. It's even. It's nice. Majority of the floors are even, but here it's not. It's not. So it's crooked. So right. Of course, you can put something under the leg of the table, or a person might want to make the ground straight, which is a problem. Because, as we said, it is an improvement of the ground, and that's why we said when we were talking about sweeping, right? I think it was in the Melachah of laundry, right? I think maybe I'm mistaken, but that's what I think. So there we're talking about washing the floors, and we said there is even though washing in generally refers to something that is pliable, that some things that people usually wash, like I don't know, the clothes, clothing, like linens, all other things. But the prohibition was actually to wash the floors, and the explanation was because in olden days, like people would wash the floors, and they would be like leveled by this water, so it would be forbidden. And plus you improving the ground, and maybe something is going to grow. So it's actually more than one melacha. Okay. Okay. So again, this Gemara teaches that if one removes the small amount of earth from the floor of his house, so we're not talking outside, even inside. So even again, person is not going to build anything inside, but still it improves the ground. So he have a later melachah of building. For by removing the mount, he has improved the floor in his house. So again, even though he's not going to build anything, most likely in the inside of his house, but melachah is violated. There are several activities that are prohibited on Shabbos because they include or might lead to leveling of the ground. For example, sweeping. So for when a person sweeps, so we actually say that we are allowed to sweep on Shabbos. For example, something like fell on the floor, some crumbs, all these things. Okay, I don't know, cereal, I don't know, something, right? So you want to sweep that. There's no problem. Right, we say there is no problem with sweeping because by our sweeping in our houses, we're not going to level the ground. We just make the floor look better. Okay, better, more presentable on Shabbos. Okay, so that's why it's not forbidden for us, but in all the days for sure. Okay, some examples are sweeping or washing the floor and rolling the ball on the ground, right? Washing the floor, rolling the ball over the ground, and sometimes when they play ball, that they want exactly the flat surface, and according to the majority of the opinions, if kids, a different story, but for adults it's forbidden to play ball. Why? Exactly because of this melachah. This prohibition discussed at length in different chapter. Continue. Number 2, digging in the ground. Digging in the ground. One who digs on Shabbos because he wishes to create a hole, as opposed to one who dig to obtain earth, has violated melachah of building, even if the hole is very small. Under the Torah law, digging is forbidden only if one digs to achieve a positive benefit. For example, he wishes to use the hole for storage, or as a foundation of the house. However, by Rabbinic law, it is forbidden to dig even for no beneficial purposes. And actually, this digging we were discussing when, I'm going to remind you, in Melachah of plowing, so in improving the earth, right? We say that plowing, right? Why would a person plow? In order to seed. So, right, for example, if you want to plant saplings, right? So you make a hole in the ground and you put something inside. right? And we say when it's done intentionally, but when a person makes a hole, right, like unintentionally, for example, a woman with the heels, right? Hopefully it's not very high, but let's say some kind of heels. So when she walks, she make holes in the ground. And we said there is no problem. Or somebody walks with a cane, for example, and this area has an Eruv, and this person is allowed to walk with a cane. So it's not so simple. Not everybody is allowed to walk with a cane outside. So all of these things. If there is a Eruv, right, it's more lenient, but without Eruv, it's more stricter. So let's say person is allowed, and every time they push they lean on a cane, right, a lot, for example, and they would have this hole every time indentation into the earth. We say there is no problem, but technically that's what the person in a sense is digging. He is compressing. It's not digging, but the end result is the same in a sense. You see the hole in the ground. Okay, so again. So you see, some of the things we actually learned before in the different chapters. Okay. One who digs on Shabbos because he wishes to create a hole, right? As opposed to one who digs to obtain the earth. That's two separate things, right? Has violated the Melachah of building, even when hole is very small. So that's right. For to create a foundation, you have to create a hole, right? You have to dig. So if you need the earth, it's still, as we said, it's still going to be forbidden on the rabbinic level, but that's a different story, right? Just create the hole in the ground for the sake of the hole is actually forbidden on the biblical level. Under the Torah law, digging is forbidden only if one digs to achieve the positive benefit. For example, because he wishes to use the hole for storage, and all the days that's they used to do, right? They would hide things, unfortunately, in the ground, right? Not right underground. So today we have you go to the house, you have closets, you have furniture, this and that. But in olden days, if you see the pictures, like of people, some majority of people did not have much furniture. Right, it's only would be like a few pieces of furniture. So basically, to hide things was not such an easy thing, right? So meaning it would be obvious, like small houses, small like one room houses. So it would be obvious when things are hidden, right? So that's why when a person would be given something, for example, money like metal money, gold or silver to watch or stones, so they would. Store them underground. So that's a constructive purpose. Okay. So under the so I'm going to read it quickly. Under the Torah law, digging is forbidden only if one digs to achieve positive benefit. That is because he wishes to use the hole for storage. Okay. Or the foundation of the house, right? As a classic example. Okay. However, by rabbinic law, it is forbidden to dig even for no beneficial purpose. So if the woman comes with the heels and it makes like a hole, there is no problem. That's not like in her mind, right? In her mind is continue walking. It's modest, not modest. Let's say tiny heel. Okay, that's a different story. Or the guy walking and leaning heavily on a cane also. Okay, so that's would not be forbidden because it's normal things, normal way of doing things. Okay, so we go to next subsection B, building a structure. It is forbidden under the Melachah of building to construct a structure upon the ground on Shabbos. This prohibition applies whether the structure is attached to the ground or simply lying upon it, and applies to no matter what the style of the structure and no matter what type of the material is used. It includes building a wall or a fence, or even placing bricks or rocks around the garden to protect it. It also includes pitching a tent Tent is a separate story. All right. All of these structures, all of these structures built upon the ground. Therefore, therefore, building them transgresses the Melachah. All types of landscaping are likewise forbidden. Landscaping, I mean, okay, we're going to discuss. I mean, those are totally different subjects, additional subjects. One who builds a structure on the ground, unlike one who engages in some of other form of building that will be discussed below, transgresses the prohibition even if the components of the structure are not tightly joined. All that is necessary for it for the structure to be assembled, even if he plans for only parts are only loosely joined. Okay. So as we understand, it's a lot of information here. Baruch Hashem. So let's do quickly from the beginning. So building a structure. It is forbidden under Melachah of building to construct structure upon the ground of Shabbos. So meaning, and a structure is not like structure is a house or like a shed or something like some storage, right? Any structure. So without definition of the size. Okay. This prohibition applies whether the structure is be attached to the ground or simply lying upon it. So meaning just like a line upon it does not mean that it's moving anywhere. Right, and we're going to see, yes, according to some opinion, maybe it's a temporary structure, this and that, it would some leniency, but majority of the structure would not be allowed. Okay. Simply line upon it. And applies no matter what style of the structure and no matter what type of the material is used. So meaning, as he said, it could be the whole house, a shed or something, or a wall. Right? It includes building a wall or a fence, or even placing bricks or rocks around the garden to protect it. So let's say there is an Eruv around, and as I remember a long time ago, we went toward the mountains, and people there have horses and have huge properties, and they would have fences from the stone. So there is a lot of stone. It's like stony area, right? And they would collect the stones, probably maybe even from their property, and put it one on top of the other. So I mean, of course, you have to have imagination which one goes on top of the other, like flat on this side, flat on that side, and how they correspond to this without the cement, nothing. I think it was natural stone. So we saw several fences like that. Right, of course, if you put cement, it would like hold better, but technically, even without cement, like one, because of the weight, one would press the other, and they're going to stand together. Okay, very interesting. It's going to protect maybe from big animals. I'm not sure that they're not going to jump over. Were they high enough? I don't know. No, but we saw the fences. Meaning, this kind of defenses, it would be 100% forbidden. Right, forbidden, even they are not connected. So, but it is still considered a structure. And these fences, for sure, a person who builds this fence intends as a permanent structure. Okay. Right, or even placing bricks and rocks around the garden to protect it. Okay. So, I mean, it's for sure it's for a positive reason, right? A constructive purpose, meaning to protect it. It is also included. Maybe it's going to stop some small animals. I don't know. It should stop someone. It also includes pitching a tent. So pitching a tent is it's a separate discussion. Oil, right? And we'll see. Is it allowed or right? If you hold it in your hands, right? For example, you there is a rain and a person does not have a hood or something right? And they would hold something, let's say garbage bag, clean, empty, black bag, right, on top of their head, or they would simply have a coat, raincoat, but it does not have a hood, like a lift and protect their head. So in a sense, it is oil, right? It is allowed, not allowed. Okay. So we're going to discuss. So as I said, the oil in the tent is a separate discussion. Continue. All types of landscaping and likewise is forbidden. I mean, landscaping, the way I understand landscaping, so when we say landscaping, it's actually like have to do work with the bushes and with the grass and other things, with flowers. But here is a landscaping, meaning a person is going to put some like foreign objects, like I don't know, maybe make some of those shapes or something. Because all other things, the gardening would be forbidden because of the other things, right? So you cannot reap, you cannot cut, right? From something that attached to the ground. That's a different story. Okay, continue. One who builds a structure on the ground, unlike one who engages in some other forms of the building, that will be discussed below. So, meaning structure of the ground. That's how the straightforward definition of the building. So when for example, when somebody like bang a nail into the wall, not too many people describe it as a building, even though a person attaches something to the existing structure. So it is a building, right? It is forbidden. That is the prohibition. Even the components of structure not tightly joined. Okay. So meaning not tightly joined, as we said, the stones is absolutely irrelevant. Or they can lean pieces of wood like plywood, one on the other, right? So would be forbidden. All that is necessary for the structure to be assembled, right? Even if parts are not only loosely joined. Okay. So we'll see, and some things actually made to be assembled in order to use. For example, you have a folding table, right? So we have this table, for example, in our sukkah. We don't fold it until the end of the until after the holiday ended. But let's say you have this one of these tables, right? Folding tables, and you want to use it on Shabbos like an extension. You have a normal table, dining table. It's not enough. You have extra guests. The mother-in-law came with other people, right? So you want to extend the table. So no problem. So even though it's in a sense you're going to build it, but that's how this table was designed. So that's why sages allow us. Okay. Okay. So again, some things would be allowed, some things would be forbidden, and we're up to subsection C. Let me see how. Okay. So subsection C, and it says repairing or adding to the structure. So that's it's much more extensive. Okay. So number one, repairing a structure. Repairing an existing structure is an act of the building and is therefore included in Melachah of building. One example would be a reposition of a beam that has slipped off in its proper place. Another would be a tightening of a part, for example, doorknob that become loose. So let's do part by part. So first part is quite short, so let's do it again. So repairing the structure. So repairing structure meaning we're not building a new structure, but we're improving, meaning repairing the existing ones. And as we understand, it is a problem. Repairing the existing structure is act of building and is therefore including Melachah of building. So it's not only building from beginning so in a place and nothing exists there, but even it existed, but it's in a sense broken, or right, and a person tried to improve it. One example would be a reposition in a beam that has slipped from its proper place. I'm not sure. I don't see this example. I don't envision this example. I'm in situation. Not sure. But we got an idea. There is a beams but usually for us beams are covered on the top of the beams. You would have the sheetrock, so it's like painted. So we would not see the beams, but maybe it's like in the pre-construction stage. I don't know, something, right? But it's still there. So meaning maybe it's fall off a little, and person wants to straighten. Maybe in sukkah when it's not attached. Maybe something like that. Okay. So put it in a proper place would be forbidden. Okay. So and the next one is more practical, I think. Another would be a tighten apart, tighten over part. For example, doorknob that has come loose. Okay, so you have a doorknob. So on one hand, on one side, usually there are two screws, right? So they are holding two sides together, right? And these two screws usually they never unscrewed. Never, unless people don't have a key, right? And there is a key entry, and they play with a handle, and they handle half broken, and I saw it in my life. So it's like half hanging. So meaning right. So meaning from the outside it looks like it is locked, but as a person always forget their key, and they try to play with the handle, and so now it's got unscrewed from inside. So basically that's the story. So the tightening these loose screws would be absolutely forbidden. Okay. So even though the door you can use the doorknob as it is. I remember when we were when you're doing renovation, right? So and you want to refinish the door, you repaint. So normal people, not right. What they do, they unscrew they remove the doorknob and paint, right, or refinish, and then insert. So now the doorknob is perfectly clean and everything perfectly painted, and you insert it on top. Some people paint on top of it, which looks very much ridiculous. So, but let's say when you paint, sometimes it depends on the paint. You have to paint twice, right? So you have to paint twice. But let's say it's a bathroom door, right? So you need to still to go into the bathroom, and you have to close the door, and then you have to lock it. So, but if the paint did not dry yet, so you don't want to over tie the screw. You want the doorknob to be there, but not to touch the paint. So meaning it's possible there is lightly inserted and like a little screwed in. So it's not allowed. So for example, a person finished on Friday, did not have time to tighten because door was still wet. So not allowed to tighten this doorknob. Okay, that's practical example. So next part. So okay, next part. Number 2, adding to a structure. So part 1 was a repair and structure, adding to a structure, meaning things that were never there. Adding to existing structure is included in Melachah of building. An example would be a screwing a doorknob into the door of the house on Shabbos. Okay. Even if the item that is added is not necessary to actual structure, not necessary to the actual structure, but simply added benefit, it may not be installed. For example, of this would be attaching bookcase to a wall. Okay, so before we go into deeper prohibitions, so let's try to understand. It's like in introduction to this several cases. So again, adding to a structure. Adding to existing structure include the Melachah of building. Right. So again, the structure and adding. Example would be screwing a doorknob into the door of the house on Shabbos for the first time, the way I understand. So technically, can you open the door without doorknob? I mean, if it does not close completely and then slide, you can push it. Maybe it's especially if it's a little crooked, for sure it's not going to close completely. That's perfect. So perfect meaning, or there is a hole, right? Let's say they drill the hole for a doorknob, but they did not install the doorknob. So technically, you could use the door without this doorknob, right? Okay, so that's I think the example. So install it on Shabbos would be absolutely forbidden. So it says, right, it's not actually necessary for a structure, but simply added benefit, right, and may not be installed. An example of this would be attaching a bookcase to a wall. So a bookcase, right? We have people like our neighbors on the first floor, like some like all tenants. Tenants before this people who live there before the current tenant. So we had that always something would fall with make such a noise. It's unbelievable. Sometimes you see they screaming. Sometimes we call you okay, sometimes we need help or something. So a piece of furniture would fall flat on the floor. So they create such a noise. It's unbelievable. Crazy people. So and the thing is when we have heavy things like a bookcase, for example, or like some other stand, some other even not only bookcase, what is it called, like a chest with the drawers, right? They always I'm not sure when exactly they started, but they sell with the thing that attach it to a wall, right? To the screw, with the anchor, with a screw to attach it to the chest, to the bookcase, to whatever you need, and to attach it to the wall. Otherwise, it can fall. Right? Not even because of the earthquake or something. I don't know. Right? Sometimes you have helicopters flying very very low, and you see the noise. Everything can shake it. Right? Right? The thing can fall. Right? So meaning attached to this thing to the wall, this bookcase, it's like you're attaching something to the structure. Okay. Okay. So continue. Mind benefit example. So Torah prohibition. As stated above, and even if one builds a structure without tightly joined its components, he has still transgressed the biblical prohibition of building. The same holds true with regard to the adding to an existing structure. For example, one who loosely screws the doorknob into the door on Shabbos has violated the prohibition, violated the biblical Melachah of building. Just as a prohibition against building a new structure applies only when it is a permanent structure, so too with the prohibition against adding to existing structure, it applies only when addition is a permanent one. Okay. Just let me see if continuation. Okay, no, that's it. Okay, so that's first part, which is Torah prohibition. So again, from the beginning. We stated above that even if one builds a structure without tightly joining the components, it has still transgressed the biblical melachah of joining. So as we said, these fans put in one stone on top of the other, or some pieces of wood or something, right? Or for example, this attaching doorknob, right? So even though you wanted only to screw only a few revelations, so still it's not allowed. Okay, the same holds true with regard to the adding to existing structure. So right, so meaning a permanent structure, right? These fans, for example, and adding to existing structure. Okay, for example, one who loosely screwed the doorknob into the door on Shabbos has violated the biblical melachah of building. So even without tightening with a screwdriver without hands, but even put in torn the screw few times. Of course, it's not permanent. It's very loose, but still it is going to be biblical prohibition. And we're going to draw the difference the difference between adding to the big structure and small structure, like a small utensils. So it is different. It's not the same. Okay, so on the biblical level, all of these are big structures. Just big structures and something that attached to the ground. Just as a prohibition against building a new structure applies only when it is permanent structure, right? So too with regard to the prohibition against adding to existing structure, it applies only when it's a permanent one. But to say that it's permanent, not permanent, of course we're going to see, like, if it's absolutely obvious that it's not going to be permanent, it could be some exception. But in majority of the cases, we assume that the person, guess what, is going to forget. People do forget things, and one of the things somebody like asked me what to do, like did not answer it. I didn't have time. About refrigerating light. So I think we learned in this book, and I said many times, look, it depends how you organize you are. So if you have your list and you can go like every Friday night along your list, and you're going to put a tape on top of this switch, if you have this kind of refrigerator, you only going to have the fresh tape. As I said, in my house, one time we had tape, right, and it came off, right. It was scary. Right, and why? Because we decided it's fresh tape, it's good, so we're going to reuse it. Like, what happened? Like, why we cannot reuse it, right? And since then, we got scared. We never ever reuse the old tape. Make sure only the like fresh tape, like very strong, very good brand name, and we did double. You understand? So this is the thing. So it depends how a person is organized. So majority of the people, they're not organized, and they would forget. So meaning what I'm saying is, so something that is supposed to be temporary is going to be permanent. Okay, and they're not going to undo it. So, and permanent is biblical prohibition. Even though they meant to undo it, but our sages were very strict about it. Because why? A person might violate the Torah prohibitions. Just as the prohibition against building a new structure applies only when a permanent structure, right? So too, with the prohibition against adding to existing structure applies only when addition is a permanent one. So this, for example, this like doorknob, most likely is a permanent. It's unless it's like, I don't know what is not permanent. It does not belong, right? It's you have a brand new door, for example, you're doing renovation, you have an old doorknob. Why? Because this you did not buy the new doorknob yet, or you bought, but since you still painted the door, so you still want to use the old doorknob or something like that. Okay. So next one is like subsection B, Rabbinic prohibition. Under biblical law, if the object one adds to the structure is entirely unsecured, he has not violated the Melachah of building. The object is not considered part of the structure. Therefore, its addition is not regarded as an act of building. The sages, however, prohibited this, even this. They were concerned that the person adding the unsecured object might inadvertently secure it. Okay. Thereby transgressing the Torah prohibition. Thus, by rabbinic law, one is forbidden to insert doorknob into the door even if he does not secure it with the screws, lest he inadvertently come to secure it with screws. Okay, so that's, I think it's very, very good example. Okay, so let's do from the beginning. Rabbinic prohibition again. Under the biblical law, if the object one adds to the structure is entirely unsecure, he has not violated the Melachah of building. So, I mean, in building, when we say the classic example of building, something permanent, something that is temporary, is not considered to be building, right? At least on the biblical level. But our sages knew that don't allow it. Right, because it's only, right, as we just said, people are going to forget. or get used to it. And they say, let it be like that. The object, is not considered part of the structure, right? Therefore, in addition, it's not regarded as an act of the building. So the object is not considered part of the structure because the way I understand, he said, because it's the temporary attachment. Therefore, in addition, its addition. So meaning this object, addition of this object to the structure is not regarded as an act of building. The sages, however, prohibited this, even this. I mean, again, as the logic is exactly the same. It's people would not know the difference between one and another. Right, would not know the difference. Why I can insert this doorknob, and in a doorknob, so something about construction, right? There are two sides. I'm talking about like one things like over the counter. Of course, there are fancy schmancy design, but all straightforward design, right? One doorknob has a longer screws, and this it's not even screws. It's not like these things with a thread inside, and they go into the thing wherever that is sticking from the side of the door. So meaning what? Technically, even if you don't have the other side, you can use this one handle. You can open the door. There is no problem. Of course, it's not going to lock. Can you lock with the one side? No, you cannot lock with one side. I think you cannot, but a different story, right? But still, you can open the door, for example, in the bathroom, right? In a bathroom, right? So meaning even without attaching but sticking in, so but people would not know the difference. Like why you're allowed to stick in and you're not allowed to put the second side of the door handle from another side and put in some two screws. What is the difference? Okay, so the sages say it is forbidden. They were concerned that that a person adding then unscrewed object might inadvertently secure it. So meaning like it's annoying, it falls off. So it's better to just a little tighten up, right? And it is absolutely forbidden, right? Inadvertently secure it, thereby transgressing the Torah prohibition. Thus, by rabbinic law, one is forbidden to insert the doorknob in a door, even if he does not secure it with the screws, lest he inadvertently come to secure it with screws. Okay, so meaning the doorknob, especially if somebody did the renovation in their house, if they even pay somebody, it does not matter. The people take in a very long time and they do a sloppy job, and you want to redo it and you want to paint the door. So how long is going to take me to paint the door? I can paint. I very handy person. So what is the problem? Then this project takes forever. Guess what? I know exactly what I'm talking about. These projects takes forever, and guess what? They do not want to secure the handle because the door is They need to finish it, refinish it, all these things, and guess what? Right, that's a very very practical situation. Right, when you have a door, and in Shabbos, and the handle is not there. So of course, if you lock yourself in, that's a problem. So you can use the door to get out, the door handle to get out. But that's a different story, right? All right. So and we continue. Let me quickly check time. Okay, so let's continue a little further. So I've been up to section C. Okay, cases in which one is permitted to attach the object to the structure. Okay, so now, as we always say, there is exceptions. Okay, cases in which one is permitted to attach the object to a structure. Number one, normal manner of use. The prohibition of adding to a structure does not apply when the object is added, whose normal use entails removing it and replacing it upon the structure. One who attaches such an object can simply perform its function and has not created anything new. Therefore, he has not violated the Melachah of building. An example of this would be replacing the tube that holds the toilet paper in its holder that is attached to the wall. Since the tube is meant to be removed and replaced, right? Its replacement is not regarded as adding to the house. So that's amazing example. I would not say that I have another example. It would be something like something with the spring. I don't know. I would not have the another example, but that's a very good example. So again, a case when we will be allowed to attach this thing to the structure. So what with normal way of usage, right? Which is what? Toilet paper. Of course, toilet paper, it's muktzah. I mean, maybe it's not muktzah, but we're not allowed to use this toilet paper from the roll, because we should prepare this to tear the toilet paper before Shabbos, all of the things, but we got it. We got it. So besides all of these other things, when you need to replace the roll, so how you replace it? Of course, there is some things today they have like just one hook, right? Just a hook. You just put it on a hook and that's it. It is there. So there is no tubes. But in many cases there is a tube that attaches, is set to the wall. Sometimes people would attach it to the furniture. Right, and there is like a thing, like tube in the middle, and it has a spring. So technically, you can take out, put a roll inside, and then attaches it back. So since it was designed this way, it's not considered like you attaching something to the to the structure. Okay, so that's a perfect example. So again, I'm not sure if I would have another example. Paper towels. I mean, I don't know. I would not have. I don't know. So, but it's very good example. So number 2, a flimsy attachment. Most poskim rule that one is permitted to permanently hang a curtain to close off an open area, provided that the curtain is not properly secured top and bottom. Thus, one may hang a curtain from hooks in the ceiling so long as he leaves the bottom dangling. The reason this is permitted is that the curtain is a loose hanging, flimsy thing that blows with the least wind and cannot prevent people from passing through. This characteristic prevents it from being considered as a part of the structure. Therefore, hanging it on Shabbos cannot be considered act of building. So, example, absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect example. Absolutely. So again, flimsy attachment. So we're not allowed to add something to the structure, meaning to build in the wall. And the wall is something like if you have a wall, even a high wall, not complete wall to the ceiling, but something that prevents us from going through, right? So you would go around the wall, if anything, right? So meaning if somebody put a hanging curtain, and it does not attach to the ground, so it's not considered to be a wall. And that's why when many people have sukkah made of canvas sukkah, very strong material, very strong, and it's actually attached to the bar on the ground, right? Like close to the ground. It's for sure it's lower than 3 tefachim, right? For sure. I think we have this kind of sukkah, maybe 1 tefach. Maybe even less. Well, so for sure, it's absolutely, secured. So it's not going to move with easy wind, like with a normal wind, right? Even with a strong wind. Okay, it's going to be like in the middle. It's going to be back and forth, but the bottom part is absolutely secure. So some people do not understand. They think that this sukkah is not kosher. It's 100% kosher. Right, 100% kosher. But if it would be like these curtains just hanging from top, it depends how heavy they are. If they're not secured on the bottom, so if the normal wind would blow them off, um, don't remember how much. Maybe a tefach, maybe tefach. Tefach is what is tefach? Is a feast is like a 3.5 inches plus minus 3.5 4 inches, right? So meaning back and forth. So it would not be considered the wall. But if it's like a hanging, but it's very heavy, it's like I don't know. For example, it's a very heavy material, right? Then there is no problem. If the wind is not going to like swing back and forth, there is no problem. So here is we're talking about regular curtain, hangs from top to bottom. Like on the bottom, it's not attached. So meaning the wind would blow it away if needed, right? And then a person can move it away, can go through, right? So meaning it's not considered to be real wall, and that's why it would be allowed. So let me just quickly read it so we have the whole story. So most poskim rule that one is permitted to permanently hang the curtain. And permanently hang, meaning that you don't have intention to take it down. That's what it means. Curtain, hang the curtain to close off the open area, right? Provided that the curtain is not properly secured top to bottom. But this thing technically is going to be enough for separation. We're going to learn. Okay, that's one may hang a curtain from the hooks on the ceiling. So the hooks were attached before, right? As long as one leaves the bottom dangling. The reason this is permitted is that the curtain is a loose hanging, so meaning that it's not a permanent wall, right? Flimsy things blows in the least wind, right? And cannot prevent people from passing through. So these are these two definitions that make it allowable. Okay, these characteristics, these two characteristics, this characteristic prevent it from being considered part of the structure. Therefore, hanging it on Shabbos cannot be considered act of building. And we do the last one and we stop. Right, we stop here. Decorating at decorative attachments. So here we go. Most of us can rule that one is permitted to hang even a permanent decoration on the wall on Shabbos. For example, one may hang a tapestry up on the hooks that were placed into the wall before Shabbos. The view of the tapestry is not part of the wall. We view the tapestry is not a part of the wall, but a separate object that decorating the wall. So we don't view this tapestry as something like it was added to the wall. It's something that on top of the wall, and it's not to improve the structure, not to make it more like usable. It's it's only for decoration purposes. That's why you can hang this tapestry or other things, and they're not considered to be muktzah. Okay. So let's stop here.